Meet Marcus. Marcus is 31, project manager at a mid-sized construction firm in Nashville, Tennessee. Salary of $72,000 a year. He has a decent apartment, a used Honda he bought 2 years ago, and a gym membership he actually uses. From the outside, Marcus looks like someone who has his life together. He tracks his spending in a notes app. He cooks at home 4 nights a week. He has $1,400 in a savings account he has not touched since he opened it. But Marcus has not slept a full 8 hours in longer than he can remember. Not because anything is wrong exactly, because something is always slightly wrong. There is always a number somewhere in the background that does not quite add up. A payment due on the 14th when his paycheck lands on the 15th. A credit card balance that dips down and then quietly climbs back up like water finding its level. Marcus is carrying $19,200 in credit card debt across 2 cards. $31,000 remaining on student loans he has been paying since 2017. And a car loan with 28 months left that he is current on and proud of. Total debt, $64,500. He is not in crisis. He pays everything on time. He just can't answer one simple question clearly when he tries to think about his future. What would I actually do with this income if none of this existed? Now meet Ashley. Ashley is 39, works in operations at a healthcare logistics company in the same city. She earns $76,000. 2 years ago, she made her final debt payment, last student loan installment, last credit card balance. She remembers the exact date. She took a screenshot of the zero balance confirmation and still has it on her phone. Her income did not change the month after that payment cleared. Her apartment did not change. Her life looked identical from the outside. But her financial trajectory changed completely. In the 14 months following her last payment, she built more wealth than she had in the previous 9 years of working combined. Not because she got lucky, not because the market cooperated perfectly, because for the first time since she was 22 years old, every dollar she earned had somewhere to go other than servicing decisions she made in her 20s. Today we follow both of them. What Marcus's money is actually doing right now, what happened to Ashley's money the moment the last account closed, and what the gap between those two lives looks like, compounded over the next 10 and 20 years. Because personal finance content spends enormous energy on the mechanics of paying off debt, and almost none on the full picture of what changes when it is finally gone. Let us start with Marcus's real numbers, not the numbers he sees on his phone, the numbers underneath them. His monthly debt obligations break down like this. Credit cards. He pays $480 a month across his 2 cards, at an average APR of 22%. Approximately $350 of that $480 is pure interest. He is paying $350 every single month to stay exactly where he is. No meaningful principal reduction, just the cost of keeping the balance from growing. His student loan payment is $340 a month at 6.8% interest. His car payment is $394 a month. Total monthly debt service, $1,214. That is $1,214 every month that cannot be redirected, cannot be invested, cannot be saved, cannot build anything for Marcus's future. It simply leaves, on time, automatically, without drama, which is part of why it feels manageable. Automatic pain is easier to tolerate than visible pain. Now here is the number Marcus has never run, the number that changes everything when you finally see it. If Marcus took that same $1,214 a month and put it into a simple S&P 500 index fund, earning the long-term nominal average of 10%, or a conservative 8% net of inflation, here is what would accumulate. At 8% annually, in 10 years, approximately $221,000. In 20 years, approximately $716,000. In 30 years, approximately $1,800,000. Marcus is not investing $1,214 a month. He is servicing debt with it, which means those numbers are not a future he is building toward. They are a future he is forfeiting every month, without a single line item in his budget that says, future wealth declined by this amount today. Let us also run what those debt balances will actually cost him in total interest before they are gone. Most people never do this calculation. At his current payment pace on the credit cards, Marcus will pay approximately $14,800 in interest before those balances clear. His student loans will cost him another $11,200 in interest over the remaining term. The car loan adds $2,900. Total interest payments on top of every dollar he already borrowed, approximately $28,900. Nearly $29,000 that will pass through Marcus's hands and land in someone else's account. That number is not a small figure wearing the costume of a manageable monthly payment. It is 4 years of maxed Roth IRA contributions. It is a meaningful down payment on a property. It is the starting capital for almost any income-generating asset he might want to build. This is what we call the invisible forfeit. Not the interest rate. The interest rate is just a percentage on a screen that your brain processes as math and then files away. The invisible forfeit is the compounded future value of every dollar leaving your account in interest payments instead of investment contributions. It is permanent, it is invisible in real time, and almost nobody calculates it before it is already gone. Marcus has not calculated it. Most people watching this have not calculated it. And that is precisely why the moment it stops is more significant than almost anything else that can happen to your financial life. 3 years ago, Ashley had $58,000 in consumer debt, credit cards, 2 student loans, and a personal loan she took out during a gap period between jobs in her late 20s. She had been making payments for years with nothing to show for it except slightly smaller balances that seemed to grow back whenever life applied any pressure. She used the debt avalanche method. She listed every balance with its interest rate, ordered them from highest to lowest, paid minimums on everything, and threw every extra dollar at the top of the list. The credit cards were first because they were charging her 24% and 22% respectively and were, in her words, just bleeding her out slowly every month. The avalanche method is mathematically correct in almost every scenario involving high-interest debt. Research published in the Journal of Marketing Research confirmed what the numbers already show. Attacking highest-rate debt first minimizes total interest paid. On Ashley's debt load, it saved her approximately $5,100 in interest compared to paying smallest balance first. That is not a preference. That is arithmetic. But here is the mechanical thing that happens when you use the avalanche correctly, and the thing that made the whole system feel almost unfair once it started working. When Ashley's first credit card hit zero, she did not absorb that payment back into her life. She stacked it onto the next target. The extra $300 a month she had been sending to the first card became $300 added to the minimum on the second card. The attack grew. Then the second card cleared, and that freed payment stacked onto the student loan, then the personal loan. Each closed account became ammunition for the next one. Her monthly debt elimination payment grew from $350 extra to $620 to $940 as each balance fell to zero. The timeline that had looked impossible at the beginning compressed in a way that felt almost mechanical once the momentum was established. And then the last payment cleared. On the Wednesday afternoon, Ashley was at her desk. She refreshed the account page, saw the zero, took the screenshot, and sat for a moment, not entirely sure what she was feeling. What she was feeling was the removal of a weight she had carried for so long, she had stopped noticing it was there. Her total freed monthly cash flow after that final payment, $1,380. Ashley did not immediately deploy all $1,380 into investments. This is important because the people who lose the compounding benefit of debt freedom are almost always the ones who skip this first step. She paused for 90 days, not because she was unsure, because she understood that the first job of freed cash flow is not wealth building, it is structural security. She rebuilt her emergency fund to 6 months of essential expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, minimum necessary transportation, in a high-yield savings account, earning around 4.5% annually. Not a checking account, not a standard savings account paying 0.02%. A high-yield account where the money was safe, liquid, and actually earning something while it waited. She did not invest $1 until that buffer existed, because she understood something most people skip. One bad month without an emergency fund after eliminating debt is exactly how people end up back on a credit card, rebuilding balances they just spent years clearing. The emergency fund is not a detour from the plan. It is the foundation of the plan. Then she deployed, in this exact order. First, her employer's 401k match. She had been contributing 3% to get a partial match. She moved to 6% to capture the full match. That single change represented a guaranteed 50% instant return on those specific dollars before the market did anything at all. Nothing else in personal finance produces that. Second, a Roth IRA, $583 a month, maxing the $7,000 annual contribution limit for 2025. Every dollar growing completely tax-free, no tax on the gains, no tax on qualified withdrawals in retirement. For someone in their mid-30s with 3 decades of compounding ahead, the Roth IRA is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available to regular people. Third, a taxable brokerage account with automatic monthly contributions into a low-cost total market index fund. Expense ratio 0.04%. She had tried to start this account twice before. Both times it had lasted a few months before a debt payment spike pulled the contributions back. Now nothing was competing for the money. The automation ran uninterrupted. Total monthly investment after the full deployment, $1,100. Not all $1,380. She gave herself a modest lifestyle adjustment, a dinner out occasionally, a weekend trip she had been postponing for 2 years, but $1,100 a month consistently, automatically, at 8% annual return. In 10 years, $201,000. In 20 years, $651,000. Ashley did not get promoted. She did not inherit money. She did not pick individual stocks or time the market or do anything that required skill or luck or special access. She just redirected money that had been leaving her account every month into accounts that were building something instead of servicing something. Let us stop the story and look at what this actually means in dollars over time, because the narrative is important, but the math is what should make this land somewhere real. Marcus and Ashley earn nearly identical incomes. They live in the same city. They are both responsible, thoughtful people who track their money and make considered decisions. The gap between their financial trajectories is not character. It is not intelligence. It is the presence or absence of $1,200 a month that has somewhere to go other than the past. At 35, Marcus has roughly $18,000 in his 401k, $1,400 in savings, and $64,500 in debt. His net worth is approximately negative $45,000 when liabilities are subtracted from assets. He does not think about it in those terms. He thinks about it in terms of monthly payments he is current on. At 39, Ashley has $143,000 in retirement accounts, $28,000 in her brokerage account, a fully funded emergency fund, and 0 consumer debt. Her net worth is approaching $180,000 and compounding faster every year than it did the year before. Same city, similar incomes, 8 years apart in age. But the financial gap between them is not 8 years of compound growth. It is the structural difference between a financial life where $1,200 a month builds something and a financial life where $1,200 a month services something. In 10 years, if nothing changes, Marcus will have a 401k that has grown modestly through small contributions and market returns. Ashley will have something approaching $500,000 in combined investment accounts and a net worth that has crossed 7 figures. The gap does not stay constant. It accelerates, because compound interest does not grow linearly. It curves upward. Every year Ashley's base grows, the growth on the growth grows. Every year Marcus's debt persists, the interest on the interest compounds in the wrong direction. 2 curves moving opposite ways simultaneously. The distance between them does not just widen, it multiplies. Here is the dimension of debt that no balance sheet captures, and that the personal finance world almost never discusses. Debt does not just cost you money, it costs you decisions. Marcus filters every significant choice in his life through a single silent calculation he has never spoken out loud, but runs automatically every time an opportunity appears. Can I afford the payments if this goes wrong? The job offer with a lower base salary but meaningful equity upside in a company he genuinely believes in. The conversation with his partner about moving in together and eventually buying a place. The freelance project that would take 15 hours a week for 6 months, but would build the portfolio that changes his career ceiling. The debt is not written into any of these decisions explicitly, but it is present in every one of them as an invisible constraint on what feels possible. A 2019 study, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, tracked participants before and after complete debt elimination. Anxiety symptoms showing clinical significance dropped substantially. Cognitive performance on financial decision-making tasks improved measurably. People became less impulsive, less likely to choose short-term relief at the expense of long-term outcomes, more capable of evaluating risk accurately. The brain does not experience debt as a number. It experiences debt as an open threat, and managing an open threat continuously consumes cognitive bandwidth, quietly, constantly in the background, that would otherwise go toward higher-order thinking, strategic career decisions, accurate risk assessment, long-term planning. Research also links chronic financial stress to measurably worse health outcomes, including elevated blood pressure and poorer self-reported physical health, even after controlling for income level. The debt is not just a financial burden. It is a physiological one. Ashley noticed this before she expected to. She had anticipated the financial relief. She had not anticipated how differently she thought about everything else 2 months after the last payment cleared. The mental overhead she had not known she was carrying was suddenly available for other things. She took a lateral move to her current company 6 months after debt freedom. Same salary, better long-term position, meaningfully more equity upside. She would not have taken it before. The risk math did not work before. With no consumer debt and a growing emergency fund, one bad quarter no longer cascaded into a crisis. The floor of what survival cost had dropped, and when the floor drops, the ceiling rises. The gap between Marcus and Ashley is not fate. It is a sequence, and sequences can be started at any point. Step 1. Calculate the invisible forfeit, not just the interest rate. Before you build a payoff plan, run the full number. Take your total monthly debt payment. Type it into any compound interest calculator. Set the annual return to 8%. Set the timeline to 20 years. Look at the number that comes back. That is the compounded future value of what is currently leaving your account every month in debt service instead of investment contributions. Look at it once. Really look at it. Because the people who eliminate debt fastest are not primarily motivated by the interest rate. They are motivated by seeing clearly what the debt is actually costing them in forfeited future wealth. Step 2. Choose your method and understand what it actually costs you. Debt avalanche, highest interest rate first, wins mathematically in almost every scenario. On a $50,000 mixed debt load at typical consumer interest rates, the avalanche saves between $3,000 and $7,000 in total interest compared to other approaches. If you carry high APR credit card debt, this is not a preference. It is the arithmetically correct answer. Debt snowball, smallest balance first, wins psychologically for some people. Closing an account completely triggers a reward response in the brain that keeps momentum alive in a way that a reduced balance does not. The best method is the one you will actually complete. Step 3. Find the acceleration payment. On Marcus's $19,200 in credit card debt at 22% APR, minimum payments alone clear the balance in approximately 10 years and cost over $19,000 in interest. Adding $250 a month extra cuts that to under 3 years and reduces the interest cost to roughly $5,400. That is a $13,600 difference in interest paid, from one decision to send $250 more per month. The math on acceleration rewards even modest increases disproportionately. Step 4. Decide where the freed cash flow goes before the last payment clears. The money needs a destination before the account hits zero, not after. The sequence in order. Emergency fund first. 6 months of essential expenses in a high-yield savings account. Then capture the full employer 401k match. Then max the Roth IRA, $7,000 in 2025. Then push 401k contributions to the annual limit. Then direct everything remaining into a taxable brokerage account with low-cost index funds on automatic investment. If you redirect $1,000 a month through that sequence at 8% annual return, $183,000 in 10 years, $593,000 in 20 years. You needed the payments to stop and the redirect to be intentional. Marcus and Ashley earn almost the same income. They live in the same city. They make their payments on time, track their spending, and approach their finances with genuine care and intention. But Marcus is building a number he cannot see yet. The compounded future value of every dollar leaving his account in interest payments. A number growing in the wrong direction, invisibly in the background of a life that otherwise feels responsible and under control. Ashley is building a different number, the kind that shows up as an account balance, the kind that changes what decisions are available to you, the kind that converts financial anxiety into financial options over time. The gap between them is not income, it is not intelligence, it is not discipline or character. It is the presence or absence of $1,200 a month, that is either building something or servicing something. And that distinction, compounded over 10 years, is $200,000. Compounded over 20 years, it is the difference between two entirely different versions of what your life can look like. Marcus is going to get there. He is careful. He pays attention. He just has not run the phone number yet. Not the balance, not the interest rate, the invisible forfeit. If you are watching this as a Marcus, run that number tonight. Open a compound interest calculator. Type in your monthly debt payment. Set the return to 8%. Set the timeline to 20 years, and look at what comes back. Look at it clearly, because the people who close the gap fastest are not the ones who earn the most or know the most. They are the ones who finally saw what staying in debt was actually costing them, not as a percentage on a screen, but as a life they were forfeiting, and decided that number was no longer acceptable. The last payment will come. The only question is whether it comes at 35 or 55, and the difference between those two timelines is not luck or income or circumstance. It is whether you run the number tonight.